on a disk floating through space with a tiny sun.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another night of Flat Earth Debates with my good friend and co-host. I'm actually the one co-hosting tonight. This is his channel. What the fuck am I talking about? Fight the Flat Earth. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing good, buddy. And at this point, this channel is as much yours as it is mine, you know? You're an integral part of it.
Yeah, whatever. I want the revenue.
Welcome.
I want the revenue now. Give it to me. I'm taking all your money and I'm running with it.
I just tell my kids I can't feed them, all right? How's that feel?
I mean, you got to tell them whatever you got to tell them. That's fine with me. I mean, I can't control what you tell your children, so go ahead and tell them whatever. Just tell them Uncle Lego will be bringing the waffles.
Uncle Lego.
Or Uncle Skeptic, we'll call it.
I need an
Tell them Uncle Skeptic is bringing them the fucking breakfast every day moving forward. But anyway, yeah, so you doing all right tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I was quite happy with the recent video I put out, and I thought Planner Walk did amazing in it. So if you haven't seen my new video yet, go check that out and definitely subscribe to Planner Walk. Yeah. Before we get started, on my last stream against 33UC, my internet died, so I couldn't finish the stream and read out all the super chats. So I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to everyone that did super chat during that, and I'm going to quickly read them out now. I say quickly, there was quite a few. So it was €3.30 from the Snark, 33 equals Escape in Octal, 3.33 Canadian dollars from Brainy Beaver, Oh My Poor Platypus Ears, £2 from 1 Minute Debunk, her maiden name was Mrs. Moon, genius. $2 from Miss V, those DFOTY auditions are really painful, I know. 6.66 from Ranger Man 9404, so far he's proven the number 33 exists, yeah, and it was tenuous at that. 4.99 from Kana X122, do you have evidence that any of those numbers aren't just a coincidence? If not, we don't care. 3.33 from Matt Rock, is this a donation a coincidence? No, Flat Earth confirmed. 3.33 from Bubble Burster, you seeing a trend with the amounts here, team. Yeah, he doesn't understand what evidence means. $1 from Alexis B, $2 from Mikey Paul, handle this guy Craig, 3.33 from Craig Connors, 33 has no idea how a debate works and it shows. 1.99 from Connor H, the fact this guy can vote is frustrating. $10 from Joshua Carter, this is just painful, I'll wait for humanity. $2 from Shadox Gaming, explain how water can go 900 meters uphill for angle full. That sounds like a flat earther comment, I might address that another time. $2 from MA2 Fletcher Eisler, 33's nickname is now Mrs. Moon, confirmed new name. 3.33 from Craig Connors, I'm amazed 33 lived long enough to be in this. 3.33 from Ranger Man 9404, he's paraphrasing Neil deGrasse Tyson, badumch. £2 from Caleb Dark, this idiot doesn't deserve airtime. $5 from the Logical Hillbilly, 33 UC, the first step is learning is to shut up and listen. $33, thank you, from Just Laughing. Here's $33 to kick the guy. I didn't need to. The internet couldn't handle the stupid and crashed. $4.99 from Kenna X122. If 33 doesn't want to be treated like a zoo animal, he needs to stop acting like one. £2 from Corbin Hales. Keep it. Flerfs are idiots. 6.66 from 0122132. This guy's intent is clearly just to piss you guys off. BAM. I don't know what currency BAM is, but 10 of them, thank you. Nenad Cubic, I don't know how you can stay so calm with his rudeness and stupidity. 10 New Zealand dollars from Saleb Mohammed, Muslims against Flat Earth, everyone against Flat Earth. 10 Nokias from Ulif Person. $2 from Rivero, you guys need a crayon for this. 3.33 from Fedos, but my confirmation bias. 5 Canadian dollars from Reasonable Assumption for a box of crayons for 33 UC. $2 from MA2 Fletcher Eisler, 33's idiocy broke the stream. $1 from Alexis B, and that was it all. Thanks, guys, for your super chats. I'm sorry I didn't get to read them out on the last one. So, before we get going, my guest and opponent tonight is called Ghost Units. Why don't you just take a few minutes to introduce yourself and say hello to everybody? Yeah, Ghost, do you want to introduce yourself and say hello?
Hey, Ghost, you there?
Yes, I'm Ghost Unit now. A little bit. Yeah.
Sorry, your signal, you kind of broke up there, dude. Could you try just
Hey,
refreshing your browser?
Ghost.
Can you hear me?
Well, hey, Ghost. Let me ask you something. Are you doing this from on Wi-Fi or on your phone? Either one of those.
Let me.
Ghost. Hey, if you could just shut off your video, Ghost, you should be better. It'll send less data. Yeah, those ghosts.
Can you hear me?
Killing it for
Yeah,
us.
yeah, we can hear you, dude. Are you able to just turn off your camera and the connection will probably be better? Are you there?
How do I do that?
You should just be able to click on the screen and it'll give you the option to turn the camera off.
How do I turn off the camera?
You should just be able to click on the screen that you're on, and the camera icon should come up.
Oh yeah. Okay.
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 Oh, that sounds better.
How's that?
There, yeah, there we go. We can hear you better now. Yeah, there you go. Introduce yourself, buddy.
Oh,
Oh, no, it's still playing up.
okay. My name is Unique. Now I'm a little bit different than other flat earthers
Oh.
because I'm technically an ace.
All right, buddy. Sorry, you're
But,
still You're still cutting out a bit.
So that
Do you want to just try
someone
leaving?
can
Do you want to just try leaving the call and coming back in and see if the connection's better?
still believe in normal, but
I don't think you can hear me. Are you there, bud?
Hey, Unix. Ghost Unix.
I think he's left the call right now. He might be trying to come back in. It was all working. Like we had a talk beforehand, and it was all fine. Let me just.
Yeah, no, he was sounding good there. You might want to turn on your video output to him.
Yeah.
Put it as a low resolution so that's not affecting his. But I don't think that is really gonna make a difference because he's working with upload. That'd be upload versus download. So. Okay, well, let's see if we can get him in here and get him because he seems like a pretty cool dude, man, to have a talk with. So.
Yeah. Yeah, he was talking to me beforehand, and he's got some different ideas.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. So while we wait on him getting in, we'll give you a couple of updates. Number one, we're going to be doing, I think, starting next week. If not next week, it'll be the following week. We're going to be doing a lot more on science or satire. We're going to try to do, I believe we want to do one, at least one Monday night fights over here, right?
Yeah. Ghost, you there?
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, buddy. Yeah, your connection still sounds a bit choppy.
Can you hear me? Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, myself.
Yeah, buddy, your connection's really choppy. Do you have a different device you could join on?
But to introduce myself, I'm Ghost Unix.
Hey, Ghost, do you have a different device you can try and join on? That one seems to be just cutting out.
Yeah. Yeah. Give me 1 minute. I'll try that. Okay.
Wait. It sounded good there. Okay, here, try and join on a different device. I do want to get this guy in for it to work because it was actually a conversation I was looking forward to. But yeah, sorry, team, carry on back with the updates.
Oh, well, so I think we decided we're going to do Monday night Flat Earth debates over here, right? At least a Monday night one here.
Yeah.
And I think I want to try to do a Friday night one on my channel.
Sounds good.
That would give us from Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we'll do just a normal show. And then who knows, a Saturday, Sunday show if we can have it. I've had a lot of people ask us that if we were, since we have a lot of the same subscribers, if we did a Sunday show where we could have more of an interaction with the audience. So even if we did that once a month or once or twice a month, I think that'd be great. I think the people in the
Yeah.
chat would really love a chance to get to know me better, get to know you less, but me better. They see way too much of your ugly face on the internet as is, and I totally understand that. I mean, it repulses me as well. However, I just don't talk about the repulsion as much as I probably should. So
That's why you
Colonel
use
Greg,
Avatar. Yeah, that's why you use Avatar so people can't see you
yes,
throwing
that's
up.
But yeah, that. I think that's what we're gonna do moving forward. I think that it's a great idea, and I'm ready for the Science or Satire channel to start blowing up. I'm gonna reach out. Like, it was a very unfortunate situation with everything that's going on, because I actually, like told you on the side, is I'd actually locked down Professor Dave Explains for an interview on Nonsec. And now with everything going on, I just don't want to even expose him to that until it all settles down. So, like you said, hey, instead of not inviting him, why don't we just invite him to Science or Satire? So I'm going to invite him to Science or Satire and see if maybe we can't get him as our first major guest.
Yeah,
I
that
think
would be
he has
awesome.
like 450,000 subscribers. Yeah, he's amazing. Plus he just fucking shut down Globebusters and Jeranism.
Oh, completely.
So, so he's really, I don't think he's trying to get into flat Earth arguments or anything like that, but it'd be really great to get him on and say, hey, what was your one experience with dealing with flat earthers? You know, like, what did you come away with it? Is it just blind denial? Is it voluntarily being ignorant? You know, like,
Yeah.
you almost can't say you're ignorant when you're being voluntarily ignorant. But
Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
think
we
he's
can
back.
hear you. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. Okay, so I'm gonna
There we go.
introduce myself.
Yep, go ahead.
much better.
My name is Ghost Unix. I'm a little bit different than other flat earthers because I am in fact an atheist, but I believe that someone can believe in something that's, abnormal or seemingly supernatural without having to believe in a god. But so I basically started my own personal religion, which is really explains how the Big Bang Theory can happen. And, any point where a theist will say, well, that has to be intelligent design, I'm basically saying that the universe is a physical thing, but it also works like, a computer program, so the universe can be intelligent by itself if need be, just like, we evolved from primates. Our intelligence could have evolved from a primitive, subconscious, if that makes sense to you.
Okay. It's definitely different to a lot of flat earthers that we've had on. But so you sent me a 10-minute video for your evidence for the flat earth. Do you want me to just play that for the people now?
Yes, please.
All right, here we go. 10 minutes, guys.
Okay, so first I want to reference this video about moon landing hoax debunked.
This one's for all the conspiracy theorists out there.
And I'm going to tell you
the moon landing was real by generating
how this could have been
Welcome to
hoaxed,
What the Future. On today's show,
despite what he's
proof
saying.
that the moon landing happened, if all the other proof wasn't good enough for you. A ridiculous fire truck concept that might be crazy enough to work. And lastly, Russia releases dramatic video from a failed manned rocket launch. But first, let's get lunar. NVIDIA was looking for a way to show off Maxwell, its new graphics processing unit. So it decided to take on one of the most famous bits of evidence that the moon landing was faked. Conspiracy theorists...
Okay, in regards to CGI, everything I don't think is fake in CGI. However, if you look at things like, like all these apps that are popular with kids, they're focused around HDR cameras, and they really show how powerful an HDR camera can be to, using CGI. And, most like DSLR cameras have that gimmick of, focusing on different parts of an image from different versions of the same image so they can, put that image together and then, effectively Photoshop it. But let's go back to moon, moon landing problems here. I think this will be sweet and to the point of what I'm trying to say. So,
One small step for man, one giant leap for conspiracy theorists the world over.
Wow, Neil Armstrong. Hey, wait a minute. He's supposed to be on the moon. I just saw it on TV.
Welcome to WatchMojo.com.
alright, now, just to point things out, I think Armstrong and Aldrin did go to the moon. However, what I'm saying is that they saw that it was flat, and what they found on the moon was the real, conspiracy. I'm thinking that they're finding oil, they're finding, uranium, or they're finding anything that's valuable that they don't want others to know about.
And today we're counting down our picks for the top 5 Apollo 11 moon landing conspiracies. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we're breaking down the Apollo 11 moon landing conspiracies that simply won't go away. Prepare to get scienced. Number 5, no exhaust flame. Many conspiracy theorists have pointed to the Apollo 11 lunar module's lack of an exhaust flame while departing from the moon as proof that it was actually a model being pulled by strings on a soundstage in some top-secret Hollywood film studio. As exciting as that sounds, it's simply not true. You know the old expression, it's not rocket science? Well, in this case, it is. You see, the Saturn V rocket that launched Apollo 11 into orbit burned liquid oxygen and kerosene, the combination of which creates a massive flame. However, the module used nitrogen.
Okay, now getting on this point, I think that absolutely did go to space, and it did go to the moon. However, the actual mission was probably just a recording inside of the capsule, which they had taken some prior evidence, which would say that the moon landing was faked on the moon after the moon landing about a year prior, to see if let's see. Apollo 11 orbit path, yeah. Yeah, okay. This is something very important here. Hoping you can see, study this image just for a second. Now, I will say I do believe in physics. Gravity is definitely real. Flat or not, but problem is that if you have any type of body in the sky here, doesn't matter how it's staying up there, when you gain velocity, let's just say for a second you do believe in gravity, but basically problem is that you have to be a very precise speed to get into this sphere of influence without either flying off and being screwed or just crashing straight into it. And you see, I feel that that's kind of a, unnecessary risk, assuming that the Earth is a sphere. But however, if the Earth was just, it was flat, if it was just flat, oh, here, hold on, flat Earth. Flat Earth model. I'll show you, sir. Or we're about out of time, but I'll show you this one last thing. To try to prove a point to you. Alright, now let's say you're on this flat Earth, alright? And this dome, okay, I don't think exists. There is no dome. There is no magic sky god who created anything. It's basically just, property of quantum physics and all that. But you see, say that the moon is on top of that pencil there. You see, and if physics going to the moon and on the moon were the same as down on the flat Earth, and it was, in fact, just a flat moon that was just reflecting off something, then you could just go up and then paratroop your way down safely on the moon, and that would make a lot more sense. Well, this is about to end my evidence, but there's one more important thing to talk about. Now, I want to talk about why lie about the shape of the Earth. Alright? Basically, when talking about flat Earth, obviously, there could be like something on the edge of what's supposed to be this dome. For example, let me show you. Yeah, like this ice wall. There could be something that a normal person would find very shocking, and if they knew about, they might, try to go to, where this ice is, and either just fly off into, into nothing, or ultimately die out of curiosity. So you want to lie about the flat Earth because, for one thing, there's probably a bunch of resources in this Arctic area. It's probably not quite what they say it is. It's, it probably is shitty and cold up there, but there probably is, like, resources of some kind that, the enemy of the United States, like during the Cold War, Russia would be definitely, interested in going here if they knew there was resources there, because it has never stopped them before. If you ever heard about the Kursk. But, yeah, that's all the time I have.
Alright. Was that it?
Yeah, so that was your 10 minutes. Some
Yes, sir.
in some interesting things, but I'll go back to. I'll just present some of evidence that the Earth is actually the shape that we say it is. If you just bear me one sec.
Okay.
All right. Oh, sorry, I need to find the right slide. Where is it? Sorry, one sec. That's one of these. I've got so many different proofs loaded in here. I forgot which one it was. I should have wrote it down. I'm sorry. Got to be there somewhere. Where are you? Right, here we go. So that's slide 7. So this is what seismologists see when they detect seismic activity from around the world. And one of the reasons why I use this as evidence that the Earth is the shape that it is because of the particular way that the PNS waves reflect. This literally allows you to map the interior of the world. And the point is that wherever you are on the world, if you were able to detect the earthquake, you can pinpoint the location. Because if I show you the next slide, sorry, here we go. All right, so no matter where you are on the Earth, if you'll be able to, based on the reflection of the waves, tell where the earthquake is coming from, unless it's obviously in the shadow zones. And the reason why this is important is because the only shape that this can happen on is a sphere. You wouldn't get these reflections with the seismic activity on any kind of flat plane. It literally is impossible for these the PNS waves and the shadow zones and everything to be created on a flat Earth with earthquakes. So my first evidence is literally the entire science of seismology. Right, now my next evidence is going to be evidence that the Earth actually has curve. So you bear me 1 second.
If you're seeing through this hole, through the next hole, and seeing the light at the backboard or at 17 feet off the water, the Earth is flat. If he's holding it up at 23 feet high and we're seeing the light, well, that's because the Earth's curved. So I should only be able to see it when it's at 17 feet. Okay, go ahead and drive down there, Enrique. You're going to hold the light there. Enrique, how high is your light?
17 feet.
I mean, it's as, we don't see you, Enrique. Lift up your light way above your head. Interesting. Interesting there.
Okay, so yeah, there's two direct evidence that the Earth is has curve and is a sphere. Now, I'm going to kind of alter one of my things. I was going to just bring up that gravity is real, but you kind of said that gravity, you agree, is real. Now, the thing about that is if the Earth is flat and gravity is real, then it has to only be acting in one direction, and that is straight down. So my evidence is going to be the fact that we know that gravity is actually mass attracting mass, and that happens with all masses. And you can see this in experiments, in experiments like the Cavendish experiment and the Shishelian experiment, which both showed that gravity can act on a horizontal plane rather than just straight down. And then, based on the forces of gravity, it would mean that a flat disk the size of Earth would be completely impossible. So if you're saying that gravity is real, then my evidence is the fact that gravity acts not just down, but is mass attracting mass from all directions, and that would naturally end up with something the size of the Earth being a sphere. So I'll do one more. That I can give you some evidence that the Earth is actually spinning. So if you bear me 1 sec.
Oh yeah.
If the Earth is spinning at one rotation every 24 hours, that means that every hour it has to turn 15 degrees. And if the gyroscope is mounted anywhere on Earth, it's going to drift. In today's 21st century navigation systems, they're using what's called a ring laser gyroscope. It is extremely precise. If we could simply get one of these ring laser gyroscopes, we would be able to prove once and for all that there is no rotation to the Earth. One of the people in the community actually purchased one for $20,000. But what we found is when we turned on that gyroscope, we found that we were picking up a drift, a 15-degree-per-hour drift.
So yeah, okay, that took me about 5 and a bit minutes, but I'm just going to leave it there. I think that's sufficient evidence for me to present my case. Team, over to you.
Right.
All right, so I guess right now we'll go back to another 10-minute presentation. what we'll do is we'll kick it over to Ghost Unix and let him refute first your most recent presentation, and then we'll kick you over 10 minutes and allow you to refute his presentation. Is that okay with you, Ghost?
Yeah, that's cool with me. So Ghost, basically, you've got
Ghost,
10 minutes now to refute any of the evidence that I just brought up for you.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now,
Your time
start
starts
off
now.
by bringing up quantum physics. Basically, I do believe the Earth definitely is spinning, but I believe that it's actually generating, electricity, but it's not the same type of electricity you typically would get from, a generator. It would be similar to like Tesla's death ray or just wireless electricity in general, but there's some type of quantum physics going on that makes it where it does not interact with us here on Earth the same way, we expect it to, because, for example, with the LHC, basically, it has always been believed that you absolutely cannot stop electrons. And they did this experiment back when the LHC was first turned on, where they had this magnetic field. And basically, they had two atoms, and they shot them directly at each other, and they were unable to go either which way. But some way, somehow, the electrons, they just disappeared and then reappeared on the other side of the other atom that they had just hit a few seconds later. Now, given that, and when you think about things like the Bermuda Triangle and the other triangle, the Dragon Triangle that's down in Japan, and it seems like on a globe model that it would be like a rod that went straight through in that perfect triangle. It's not a perfect triangle, but it's, they make it where it kind of sort of is like a triangle of some sorts. But basically, on that, the Earth could have, it could be made of several flat planes that work kind of like a Ferris wheel. But see, there's this, there's this time-space fabric in between each one of these planes, which you just appear on, the opposite or the next plane. That's another step on the Ferris wheel. As soon as you get to this, invisible barrier, but you can still see, as if it was a straight, plane. And basically the Earth could, I believe it does have a round mass in its center, but it's still made up of individual flat planes.
Quick, Ghost Unix, Ghost Unix, can I stop you real quick? At this point in the discussion, you need to be addressing his claims. We'll have an open discussion portion at the end. I'm not sure that any of this is really addressing his claims.
Okay, well, his point about rotation, yes, I do agree with him. The Earth is definitely rotating, and was that, the type of geological activity that we have and all that can only be from, around Earth. Well, I'm saying that the Earth has a round, the Earth is, flat that are rotating, but it has a round center that is causing this geological effect. So, everything adds up, and like and thing about gravity, where when he says that, for example, like I know that according to physics, like everything would start bending once you get to the end of this, flat Earth. But however, I think there's a counteractive, electronic force that is pushing against the force of gravity. So it kind of evens out. So it's like a consistent amount of gravity. And when you go to like, the equator, water will spin different directions. So I'm thinking that's just a change of polarity from whatever is in the center of the Earth that's causing it to generate this electricity that is, powering the sun and powering the moon. And, basically, everything like, everything that happens in tectonics, it's kind of strange that the Earth is supposedly an iron core, because if the Earth was generating, this type of electricity, it would in fact cause the iron to heat. just like how the filament in the light bulb heats. So I'm believing that the sun, I mean, it's not exactly small, but it's closer than what, many would tell you. I believe it's about 50,000 kilometers away, not exactly, millions, because, if it was that far away, I believe that, the Earth would be much colder because the atmosphere would be, the atmosphere on around Earth, could not have, enough conduction of this heat. It would only be like the very center that has any heat at all, and the rest of it would just be deflected because, the air on, a sphere, would be too thin up on top because gravity would just have all the heat in the center. And, when he talks about spheres, I do believe that anything as far as how gravity works, it is a sphere because of it, but I believe that there is another undiscovered force besides gravity that's here on Earth, and everything outside of Earth, it probably does exist, but it probably does not have this, special like quantum mechanics that we have. I believe that we are in some type of a quantum hotspot that allows, a flat plane to exist that is not defeated by, the globe argument, like he says, how only, geological activity can only work the way it does on the globe. Well, I'm basically telling him that this special type of quantum mechanic that is allowing, things to work the way they usually would not. So to end this, I want to say that he is right in everything he says, but I'm saying that there's information that he cannot observe. So that's why he cannot believe in what I'm telling him. But, within like science, things like transistors and, solar power, these things were known about for, much longer than they've actually been, prosperous in our society. But, people like Albert Einstein, he thought quantum mechanics were so odd and so out of place that he just did not want to believe in it. So in the early days, it was like, put your finger in the electrical socket, field of science of learning these things, because they did not want to believe, the quantum mechanics that were theoretical at the time, such as probability, quantum entanglement, time travel. And okay, that will end my argument for right now.
Okay. Now, I guess we'll go ahead and kick it over to Fight the Flat Earth. I'd like to talk to you about some of these quantum things, but I don't want to interrupt the discussion. So I'll let you guys do the discussion,
right,
and then maybe if we have some time afterwards, we'll talk about a few things that I think you got wrong, but it's impertinent to it's not pertinent to the discussion of the shape of the Earth. But we'll talk about that at the end. Fight the Flat Earth.
Right.
Do you want to refute his original points? Colonel Greg.
Sorry, my bad. I turned it off so you couldn't hear Russ in the paper. Yeah. So you were saying about CGI and about how good technology and stuff is, and I think you were trying to talk about like augmented reality tech, like Pokemon Go and stuff like that. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
How it's so easy to kind of alter the world that you're in nowadays. And, I'm not going to dispute the fact that technology is amazing. And if I could walk around, I would have probably been absolutely addicted to Pokemon Go. But the thing is that we went to the moon 50 years ago when there was nowhere near the technology that there is now to be able to create those kind of things. I mean, nowadays, like my phone, this has got like 500 gigabytes of storage in. You know, back then, 500 gigabytes of storage would have taken up several buildings. So
Right.
to kind of try and say, oh, well, you know, all of that has just been AR tech and everything. If it was nowadays and we just started going to the moon and everything, I'd kind of think that maybe you had a point. But the fact that technology back then was nowhere near that advanced, I don't think that really explains all the things that happened back then and all the people that saw the rockets got launched and, you know, recorded the data for themselves with using their own ham radios and everything. So yeah, that's my argument against you know, augmented reality tech and stuff.
Well,
Now,
yeah. Well, I absolutely believe in moon landings. I'm just saying it didn't happen exactly how they said.
okay. All right, so you said that.
Can you just hold on one second? Fight the Flat Earth. During this 10-minute time, Ghost Unix, just go ahead and let him address your points, and then we'll have a back and forth. That's an open discussion. But for the current time being, just don't even worry about addressing what he says. Just take some notes or mental notes for yourself. We'll give you an open forum here in a second. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead, Greg.
Okay, so you said about you think they did go to the moon, and that's great. But when they got there, did you say that they saw that the Earth was flat? Was that what you meant? That when they got to the moon, they then saw that the Earth was flat?
Right.
I mean, I guess my only response to that is the fact that they took pictures and recorded video that says otherwise. And again, back then, the technology to fake that was non-existent. So, personally, I think the direct evidence that we have just, you know, is my argument against that they saw the Earth was flat when they were up there. You said about resources on the moon. I completely agree, which is one of the reasons why we want to use it as like a launching bay for missions further into the solar system. There is an abundance of helium-3 on the moon that would be great for us, but I don't know about oil and uranium. I would have to see any kind of citations that those were the things that were discovered on the moon. So then you brought up the video that talked about no exhaust from the lunar module. Now, I've seen that video and I know exactly the one you mean. It looks like there's a little explosion and then it takes off and you can't really see much exhaust. But if you actually just look at the at that video closely, you can see that there is exhaust, because as it's taking off, you can look at the point that it was taken off from, and you can actually see that the exhaust flames are kind of hitting the floor. It doesn't need as much power to take off from the moon as it did from Earth, so you don't need the massive rockets that you need to get things out of Earth than you do off a moon. So I think, again, you just need to look harder and you can actually see that there was exhaust. Orbital calculations, frankly, physics backs up my side with that. The calculations to be able to, to take into account for orbital mechanics are well known and exhibited every day, and are most recently, I guess I could refer you to SpaceX launch of the Skylink satellites, with the calculations to have like a train of satellites constantly in orbit are obviously exist. Yeah, they obviously exist because that's exactly what they've done, and there's millions of pictures of that all over the internet. Now, why lie? Resources in Antarctica. Well, here's the thing about that. There is, last time I checked, at least 12 companies that will take you on holiday to Antarctica, literally to the North Pole. The South Pole. So the whole thing about we're not allowed to go to Antarctica is bunk, because we totally are. Not saying that there isn't areas off limit for scientific research, because of course there is, but anyone can go to Antarctica and it's quite well documented what's there, and that people literally go across it all of the time. So that was all the things you brought up, I think. Back to you, team.
Okay. So I guess from here, we're going to go into a refutation where you just basically, an open discussion. You both refuted each other's arguments, the points you've made. Now I'd like you guys to just have an open discussion. We'll start with you, Ghost Unix. At this point, if you want to bring up the quantum stuff or whatever, this would be the point that you were able to bring it up in the discussion, because he didn't bring anything up about that. So these are additional points right now. So go ahead. We'll start with you, and then you guys just have that discussion, all right?
Can I ask you, Ghost Unix, are you okay if I refer to team about quantum stuff? Because I've studied
Oh yeah, definitely.
yeah, I've studied quantum enough to have a conversation about it, but I know team is much more knowledgeable on those points
Yes,
than I am. So
I'm familiar with Team Skeptic's knowledge of quantum physics.
all right, so go ahead, bring up any point that
Well,
you like.
it's a very basic knowledge. It's a very basic knowledge, but I do understand enough to know that what you're saying doesn't really make sense. Now, what is a
Right,
quantum
okay.
hotspot? Just out of curiosity.
Well, when I'm talking about like a quantum hotspot, you know how you're familiar with quantum leap theory, right? So I'm just talking about
Quantum leap theory?
you know,
I mean, that was a good
yeah,
show.
you know, and string theory, but I'm basically talking about a place in time space where, you know, these things can happen on large scale, right? Does that make sense to you?
Not really. So go ahead and kind of break it down to me the way you're trying to explain it, using
Okay,
as simple terms as possible, so I can try to follow your logic.
Right. So basically, going back to the LHC, one of the first experiments they did was to observe particles, you know, being hit against each other, and it has always been, you know, believed that you cannot stop electrons. And they basically made a situation where there is absolutely nowhere for these, you know, electrons to go once they hit each other, trying to see if they could stop them. But however, the electrons, they just disappeared for several seconds and then reappeared, you know, opposite of each other.
Yeah, so the quantum, do you understand what the quantum leap is for an electron? Do you understand why an electron makes a quantum leap?
Well, no, can you explain it to me better about why that happens, sir?
Yeah, so electrons can only exist at certain energy levels, okay? So that's where the words quantum come in, because when you quantize something, you give it a specific amount. Electrons exist at a certain energy level at in one shell, and for them to go to the next shell, the atom has to absorb, or I guess the electron has to absorb enough energy to move it up one to the next shell, or for it to drop down, and this results in the releasing of photons or the absorption of energy, either one. So what ends up happening is you can't have a midpoint for the electron. Let's say you try to give the electron the first shell energy plus half of what's necessary for the second shell. Well, the electron won't make the jump until it has the full amount of energy. Now, the quantum leap, why it's called a quantum leap, is because it's what the way quantum works. It works on probabilities. Okay, so when you're talking about where the electron is at one energy level, it's only going to, the probability of that electron is going to typically be in that first shell, okay? And the probability of it being in the next shell won't exist until it reaches a certain energy level and it makes that quantum jump. The electron itself is not moving from one place to the next. It's an electron that is in the first shell until it receives enough energy, and then an electron appears in the second shell. The electrons are identical all the way down to everything. Every electron in the universe, in fact, is identical to every other electron. So you can't really make the assumption that because it's an identical particle that's moved to the next shell instantaneously, that it's actually a physical particle that's moved through space-time faster than the speed of light. It's just a potential. It's an energy potential.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up. Team Skeptic. Now, I have one more question for you, and that is, are you familiar with the multiple universe theory?
Sure.
So, do you think it could be possible that these universes could coexist with paper thin barriers, right? And basically,
well, I don't think that that's how that. But the multiple universe theory, I don't think that's how that is. That's actually what the theory says. The theory says, excuse me. The theory says that when you come across a break or two options in the timeline, let's say, and you make one option. Well, in another universe, there is a universe out there where you have made that other choice. Okay, so the idea is to say that all possibilities are out there, so that when we make one choice, when we make a measurement or an observation, we're actually bringing that reality into our reality. We're making that one possible reality our actual reality. That
But
still wouldn't have anything to do with what you're talking about, though.
I mean,
But go
unless
ahead.
you remove one of the Infinity Stones, and obviously you create a branch timeline.
Right.
Right.
All right.
Like one thing you started mentioning was quantum entanglement. Could you explain to me what quantum entanglement is?
Well, it's basically like if I have one wheel and another wheel on the moon, and it's basically, it's just like two options, red or black. One is white down here, the other one will be black up there on the moon. But it's something that happened with particles instead of,
Yeah.
things
So
like
Are you
spinning
talking about
wheels, right?
non-locality? Are you talking about non-locality?
Yes.
yeah, I mean,
Yes.
Einstein referred to it
Okay.
as spooky action at a distance, because he
Right.
didn't really
But that was completely proven wrong.
yeah.
That not locality
Okay.
was completely proven wrong, and non-locality is absolutely proven right. In fact, that's what we
Yeah.
base our modern transistor on.
That was kind of what Einstein did
Superposition
to
and
physics
non-locality.
was to remove the localityness from the universe and the understanding that we had. And I think when you're talking about quantum entanglement, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, team, but it's about particles that are entangled due to their frequencies being the same, and then when
No,
one
no,
has the
no.
spin of up, then
It's
the other
no,
has the
no,
spin
no.
of down. No.
No, okay, so this is all about probability again. So
Right.
when you have an interaction between these two particles, some part of their superposition becomes entangled. So a portion of their probability becomes reliant on each other. Meaning, this goes back to certain principles in quantum mechanics that say that you can't have two objects that are in the same quantum state. Okay, so let's say that we have the two possibilities of spin up and spin down, right? And we interact with them in a way where the superposition of that variable becomes entangled, okay? So that you can say, well, if we measure up over here, we're guaranteed to measure down over there, and if we measure down over there, we're guaranteed to measure up over here. Now, the thing about electrons is they seem to align themselves with the way we measure them. Okay, so if we try to observe them in a certain way, they always line up to our observations. So if let's say, for instance, we observe it or we measure it at 45 degrees, well, the electron itself is going to align itself at 45 degrees so that it can be measured. Well, then the other electron that's quantumly entangled will also line up 45 degrees and will point down instead of up, or up instead of down. So they are entangled with one another, but it's not that they're working on the same frequency or same wavelength or anything like that. It's just that their probability waves get entangled so that the observation on one collapses the observation on the other.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So basically,
Thank you.
I think it's safe to assume that, without wanting to be offensive, that your arguments with using quantum mechanics are kind of based on a misunderstanding of quantum mechanics, because
Exactly.
frankly, I don't think anyone understands quantum mechanics. Now, one thing you mentioned was when you were rebutting my evidence, is that the tectonics that when I showed you the seismic activity, P waves and S waves, you said that would work on a flat Earth. I didn't really understand the reason why you said that would work. Could you explain that to me?
Okay, so I was basically bringing up the concept that if the Earth could be flat, but it could also have this, round mass underneath it that is the source of, these tectonics. But, it's kind of like melted over like a piece, but because of gravity, like we don't really notice this effect. So it's basically we're on a flat plane, right? And I believe that gravity still works the way it would on a globe. Like if you were like in Australia or something, you would absolutely not, feel like you were upside down. However, the Earth is actually flat, but it's on top of this big ball of iron, and the Earth is melted over like a cheese, right? And there is no firmament. Like the sky goes around this, like in like a 360-degree, sphere, and that's these round pictures because they're basically just looking at the sky, right? But basically, these tectonics are happening below the Earth, and then the effects are coming up through the flat Earth. Does that make sense?
So you kind of think it's like a bowl with the flat Earth on top?
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. So flat globe, best of both worlds. I suppose if that was the case, then you could detect seismic waves in the same way. However, it's still literally only half of the shape. And because you create the shadow zones with the PNS waves, that confirms that it's more than just half a globe. It is, two parts of a globe stuck together.
Right.
So I mean, I'm not an expert on seismic activity by any means. I've looked into it as much as I can to understand PNS waves as much as I can, and based on what I understand, I don't think we would get the reflections and stuff that we do if the world was a flat globe.
All right. Now I want to ask you something about the Bermuda Triangle.
Okay.
So, like we can rule out like aliens and anything that's considered magic now, but do you believe that there is some type of unusual going on in like that location that causes this orientation and causes these odd disappearances? Like, for example, there might be like a wormhole or something that's not what we think of as a wormhole, because it's something like it's not a big black hole, just it looks like. But
based on the limited research I've done, from what I gathered, when you actually look into the numbers, there isn't a greater number of disasters or anything in the area of the Bermuda Triangle than there is anywhere else. Any more so than the fact that there is a lot of traffic that goes over that area. So proportionally, there would be more accidents and stuff in the area where there is less traffic. But I really think that if you actually look at the data, there isn't a disproportionate amount of unexplained things happening in the Bermuda Triangle area. So I honestly just think the whole Bermuda Triangle thing is a bit of an urban legend that is exaggerating things that are happening.
Okay, now based on that, do you think that there could be supernatural in the Bermuda Triangle, but there is something valuable like around the Bermuda Triangle? So like governments are, raising this propaganda to try to discourage people from wanting to like explore, especially like underwater in the Bermuda Triangle, because there's a source of gold or something.
I mean, do you have any evidence that there's anyone actively trying to stop people going there? Because again, as far as I know, it's not like a restricted area or anything, and it's actually quite an active area of water. There's plenty of boats and airplanes and stuff that are always going around there. So, do you have any evidence that there's some kind of conspiracy to hide the true nature of that area?
Well, the only real evidence I can give for that is all of the propaganda around it that kind of arose like more towards like the modern age. Like as soon as like you're familiar with Dr. Ballard, aren't you?
Sorry, who?
He was Dr. Ballard. He was working for the United States government, and he also discovered the Titanic by finishing his, research early. But now, do you think that the reason why we have so much more propaganda now than we ever had about the Bermuda Triangle is that, these governments saw, that we now have that technology, and they knew about something in, this area of the ocean. So they're they themselves are actually the, conspiracy nuts that are actually making these videos. Do you think that there's any possibility with that?
I think my answer to that would be I think it's the same with all conspiracies. The fact is that now there's billions of people on the internet, whereas 15 years ago there was millions of people on the internet. More people on the internet means more stuff's going to happen, and there's going to be conspiracy theories come up because the internet's a great place for something like that to happen. But the only correlation I see is more people having access to the internet to be able to create conspiracy theories. So, right, how about we move into some more kind of evidence-based stuff, and I want to show you a picture, and I'd like you to tell me how it would be possible if the Earth was actually flat. Now, bear with me while I get the right one up. Okay, that's slide 27. Okay, so this is a still from a video taken by a YouTuber called Miles Davis, and it's actually from literally just down the road from me. He's at a place called Terranor in Scotland, and he is at 210 meters above sea level. Sorry, I get the right page on there. Okay, so he's 210 meters above sea level. Okay. The bridge, where the red line is, going to the top of the bridge, is also 210 meters above sea level. The hill in the background, the maximum height of one of the hills in the background is 500 meters above sea level. However, as you can see, the hills are below the line, which can only mean that there's a curve to the Earth. Otherwise, the mountain isn't 500 meters above sea level. So that image is 100% impossible if the Earth is flat. It is only possible if the Earth is curved. So could you tell me how that would be possible on a flat Earth?
Well, I'm not sure, but my only theory is that the Earth is kind of like the magma is more abundant, and it's closer to the surface than we originally told. So that means that basically the ground is made out of individual pieces. Like the tectonic plates themselves are floating, but even though that even though that, for example, you would see that on, a globe, on the flat Earth, I'm thinking that the plates are constantly, bulging up, so it kind of, recreates this, curve effect, right? Okay. Does that kind of make sense to you?
It would kind of explain it if the height of the mountains were changing, but they are consistently 500 meters above sea level, and I bet if you check back in any kind of topographical records, they would all say that those hills have always been 500 meters above sea level.
Right.
Okay, right. Let me give you another picture that isn't on land. Might help to prove that there's a curve. You bear with me while I get the right one. There it is. Okay. Right. So on this picture, taken by Dazza the cameraman, there's two ships, and both those ships are exactly the same size. So how come one of the ships appears to be half underwater, slightly smaller, and one appears to be sitting on the horizon line? The only explanation for that is that the boat in the background is behind the curve of the Earth.
Right. Oh, can you hold on 1 second? 1 sec. Thank you. Okay, all right, I'm back. So my theory on that is these ships, right? They have this type of static electricity generator that's just attracting this fog to sort of, catfish it, like, trying to curve over a horizon.
Wait,
right?
what now?
Does that?
I spent nearly a decade in the Royal Navy, and I can tell you that ships do not have an electromagnetic fog generator of any kind.
Well, do you think the Earth itself could be, a type of generator like that?
We have instruments that can measure electromagnetic charges, and they're consistent with what we know the sphere Earth generates. I don't think any kind of electromagnetic interference or could cause a ship to disappear from the bottom up. I've got other pictures of ships that other things. Okay, right, here we go. What's that? Slide 30. Let me just change that to a different picture that shows you evidence of the curve of the Earth. Okay, so I'd love to know how any kind of electromagnetic interference could make, literally the bottom of all of those buildings disappear. The only explanation that I can think of that's logical is that the Earth is curved and they're behind the curve of the Earth.
Well, like I said, the Earth could be, curved. It could be like, flat like a piece of cheese, but curved over this ball it's sitting on top of, right? So that could also explain it.
Right. So you're saying the Earth's flat, but it is curved.
Yeah, like, what I'm saying is, like, I believe there's this sort of, like, black hole or white hole or something of that nature that once you cross it, you are just, transported somewhere else on the Earth. Like, when people try to sail around it, I don't think it actually ends.
Like Pac-Man.
Yeah, I think. Oh, yes, sir. Like, I don't believe that the Arctic is actually.
So, sorry to interrupt. So, are you going with the simulated reality thing?
Well, yeah, sort of. Right, like what I said, like, in the beginning, like the term, like, ghost Unix. Would that really? How I made that up? It's, the term ghost is like referring to religion, like, and Unix is just referring to, like, computer code. So I'm like trying to say, like, the universe is like this, it's physical, but it's created by a like mechanical, like, matrix thing, and basically what caused life and, like, what caused our intelligence was basically a glitch in this, like advanced, like, 3D printer that's printing out, like, all these things, like, in the universe. But basically, like, so that's why I'm saying that, like, so I'm saying is the universe can be intelligently designed, but that intelligence does not have to be, like, omnipotent or, super powerful. It could have just been an evolution of, like, a very simple mechanical, intelligence, right?
Okay. I mean, it sounds very much like the plot to the game No Man's Sky, which I spent many hours playing.
Really?
Yeah, but
Well,
I mean, I've also watched The Matrix many times, and frankly, I don't see any evidence that the Earth or the universe is simulated, and there's no evidence of you kind of disappearing in one place and appearing in another, because, for instance, if planes were doing that, then ATC, air traffic control towers, their radars would have planes just randomly disappearing and then randomly just appearing. So I just genuinely don't think there's any evidence for any of this.
Well, are you familiar with Flight 11?
Go on, tell me.
Well, basically, I believe it is World War I or World War II, but basically they were flying over the Bermuda Triangle, and, like, all of a sudden their communications just like cut out completely, and they completely just disappeared. Like, you know, there were people like on the other edge of like the Bermuda Triangle, because the Bermuda Triangle is like only several hundred kilometers, and there were like you know, there were like ships and things that could have been communicating with it, right?
I think you mean Flight 19, don't you?
Yeah, Flight 19. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that yeah, well, I mean, again, that's just seemed like I go back to what I was saying about the fact that when you look at the amount of traffic over the area of the Bermuda Triangle, there statistically the right amount of accidents happen. You know, there's no statistical anomaly in the amount of strange things happening in that area compared to the amount of activity there. So, I mean, the whole Bermuda Triangle thing is just, it's an urban myth that I think has been debunked plenty.
Well, have you heard about the Dragon's Triangle, sir?
The Dragon's Triangle. Go on, tell me.
Well, it's basically the exact situation with the Bermuda Triangle, although it's in Japan. And I recently heard about this thing called the Nevada Triangle. So there's basically multiple, you know, places like this. And there's also a place that I just recently heard about, like somewhere on YouTube, on top 10 list. You know, I don't remember the channel, but it was a, you know, it was a pretty reputable channel. You know, it wasn't like a crazy conspiracy theory thing, but, you know, they started off talking like about, like Skull Lake, I believe it's called. And basically they got to talking about this place where, you know, things will go uphill and defy gravity.
I'm pretty sure you're talking about the plot of Tomb Raider from 2013 here.
No, but no, you can look it up right now. There's this place where
they refer to it as the Devil's Sea, and again, it's an area in the South Pacific, south of Tokyo, and again, statistical analysis would say that no anomaly exists in the amount of disappearances and stuff that are in that area compared to the amount of traffic that's there. Dude, I've got to say, it's a lot of like kind of urban myths and stuff, and not actually much evidence of the Earth being flat. Okay, right. Let's move away from Bermuda Triangle and stuff. And you said that the sun, it's not 93 million miles away, but do you think that it's small and local?
No. Well, define local. Define the term local.
Does it orbit above the plane of the Earth, or is it further away than you know, the circumference of Pizza Planet? Because
it's kind of like sir, it's like it's not there. Like, okay, there is absolutely no magic dome, right? It's basically the sky just ends and then you're in space, but the sun is absolutely bigger than the Earth, but it's not like 20 plus million kilometers away. It is only like 50,000 kilometers away, because I feel that if the sun was really that far away, despite how big it was, you know, the energy just could not make it to Earth the same way it does.
Okay.
Right?
Do you know how much energy the sun puts out?
I'm not completely sure, but it's something like in the realm of like 50,000 megajoules, right?
Well, I think 430 quintillion joules of energy hit the Earth from the sun every hour. I think that's it. It's something like that figure. I mean, and it makes sense that based on our understanding of nuclear fusion and the fusion byproducts and how far away the sun is, it actually all adds up that we have the right amount of energy reaching us and the right amount of radiation.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't think that...
But
it could be any other distance than what we say.
But sir, is it possible that there's not, another factor in this that is, manipulating this like radiation, like how the Van Allen belt, is like, protecting the Earth from radiation, or is, I'm not sure exactly what it does, but it is related to radiation. So do you think there's some type of like, like microwave shield around the Earth that is like,
well, the Earth's magnetic field, the Earth's magnetic field does, deflect a large proportion of the radiation from the sun. It's one of the reasons why we still have our atmosphere and stuff, is because we've got this magnetic field around us which deflects a lot of solar radiation. So there's nothing odd about it. It kind of fits in with everything that we understand.
All right. Can you hold on one sec? Let me get my my charger here.
Yeah. Go ahead. Right.
Okay. One. All right.
So I'd like you to look at these two pictures.
Yes.
They're the shadow cast from Mount Rainier onto the underside of clouds. Now, if the sun was the distance that you were saying, that literally wouldn't be possible, because the sun would have to be lower than the mountain. And the only way that the sun can really be lower than the mountain if it is a great distance away and the Earth is a sphere rotating away from the sun. So could you tell me how that could happen on a flat Earth with the sun relatively small and local?
Well, sir, are you familiar with like holograms?
Yes, but I can tell you that the sun has been creating a shadow from Mount Rainier for as long as Mount Rainier's been there, and holograms haven't been around that long.
Well, okay, sir, so what makes you so certain that humans were the first intelligent species on this planet?
Okay, that's a very strange question. I could never say 100% that was the case, but there is no evidence to indicate that there was an intelligent species here before us. But I haven't been around for 5 billion years, so I couldn't tell you that for certain.
But okay, so it's possible that there could be like a similar race of like, say, gray aliens or whatever your favorite alien might be, but they're just not interacting with us because we are sort of like their pets, kind of like the zoo effect, right?
Yeah, dude, this is like I love Star Trek, and there's episodes where they take humans for terrariums all the time, but there's no evidence that is the case. All evidence indicates that we are alone on this planet as an intelligent species, and we are just taking our first tentative steps into the universe. That's the situation that is clearly evident. And just saying, could there be aliens? Could there be this? There's really not any evidence of the flat Earth, is it?
Well, yeah, because like you're familiar with the pyramids, right?
Yeah.
Of Egypt, like the Great Pyramid. So, and you are familiar with the fact that, the biggest pyramid in that valley basically has like no corpse inside of it or no mummies. So, do you think it's possible that it could have been used to like harness some type of power that is relevant to like, like things like ley lines and like, the gravity of the Earth?
Not really. I mean, as far as I can tell from my research, it just indicates that most of the pyramids were built in alignment with some of the stars, but nothing significant, and certainly no great ancient mystery about aliens or anything. And now it seems like you've switched to the plot of Assassin's Creed.
Okay, well, I said I wanted to bring up the fact, right? So, are you familiar with the hockey stick effect
The hockey
within
stick
culture?
effect.
Like how, how the Earth was just so primitive, like us humans are primitive for some, and then all of a sudden, you got people like Leonardo da Vinci, and are you familiar with the secret life of Leonardo da Vinci and what he would do? That was
Leonardo
against
was
the church of the time.
Yeah, I mean, Leonardo was a great smart man that had a lot of crazy theories and spent a lot of time like inventing stuff.
But you're familiar with the fact that he like dug up corpse and he would do autopsy on them, right?
I really don't see how that's relevant.
Well, because that's relevant because basically, as soon as people started, revolt against, gods and things, that's when technology like started to take off, right? And if we go back in ancient Egypt, they were like completely obsessed with things like sun gods and sacrifice. So my question is, how could they have known these things that requires like, such a scientifical, type of mind if they were, seemingly,
That's called progress, man.
right?
Like, let's look at it like this. It took less than 50 years, less than 60 years from the first manned flight to us landing on the moon. And that sounds fantastical and amazing considering humanity's been around for millions of years and not done any such thing. But that's just what humans do. We strive to be better, and once we have some technology, we're then going to try and make that better and better. Again, the fact that technology has advanced quite quickly in the past century isn't evidence that the Earth is flat.
Yeah. Well, so let me ask you a question. Why do people invent gods?
Okay, any sufficiently advanced technology would appear as magic to people, right? If
right.
So if I went back in time right now with my mobile phone, all right, 400, 500 years, and I went, look, I can contact people. There's pictures, there's music. People, oh, that's crazy, that's magic. But no, it's just technology. But to primitive people, they need to try and explain things. So they might say, oh, it's magic, it's a god. And it's the same when primitive people were looking up at the sky and seeing lightning and seeing stars and ancient supernova or whatever. They needed a way to explain it because they didn't understand what was going on. In the same way that you would attribute sufficiently advanced technology to magic, nowadays, like back then, the human mind would have probably said, I don't understand that, so to try and understand it, I'm going to give it a supernatural basis. I'm going to say God did it, or it's the gods being angry, because that's a way to rationalize what's happening. I am an atheist, very much so, and I think that as we're at the point in humanity where everyone should be atheists because there's literally no evidence that religion is a thing. But that's just how I feel and how I think human society has advanced. But that's why people come up with gods, is because they needed to explain things.
Right. So, given that, so you think that like someone who has the ability to build something like the pyramids, right? Now, I want to bring up something that's important in that, if you do the research, only the outside of the pyramids are really fine carved. It's actually like the inside of the pyramid, like in between the walls, they have discovered that it is actually just rough rubble. But regardless, if they could, build something like that and have this knowledge of the stars, why would they still choose to, talk to ghosts, right?
Oh, wow. I mean, I've just got to say that none of that is evidence of the flat Earth. Who knows what went through the minds of ancient Egyptians? The Egyptian culture can be traced back as far as 7,000 years. Who knows what they thought and what they believed. But again, none of this is evidence that the Earth is flat. When I can just literally just give you a picture of the Earth being a sphere.
Right.
and how do you, how can you argue with something like this, which demonstrably shows that the sun is far away? It's literally only possible on the model that we say. So
Okay.
and then we know that it's spinning the way that we say it is. You bring up a lot of fantastical what ifs, but where's the actual evidence that the Earth is anything other than what we have been told?
Well, sir, why should we believe our own eyes?
Okay, ask that to a blind person.
Well, but like how can you say for sure that everyone in science, like I know you're an atheist, and I trust about 99% of most scientists, and I do believe that there are real space missions. It's just that there are some, lies in between for whatever financial gain. But do you think that there could be any, grand conspiracies in science at all?
Hey, I'm not saying that everyone's told you the truth about everything. Governments are dodgy as fuck. I know that, but there's no evidence that scientists have lied to us about the shape of the Earth, and a lot. Your evidence is, well, it could be something else because I don't understand what's happening. And I don't mean that in an offensive way, but it literally seems that your lack of understanding about how the physical world works is your evidence that the Earth is flat. Whereas we know that the Earth is what we say it is, because in 1972, Eugene Kerman took this picture using a Hasselblad camera with an 80mm lens. It was not CGI. It's not doctored. That is exactly as he took it. So that there disputes any of your claims of the Earth could be something other than what we're told, because that is a direct physical thing.
Sir, could that be just the top of the flat Earth, from him being right above it?
No. Look at it. It's clearly a sphere. It's slightly shaded on one side.
Right. But why can't the flat Earth just be a sphere on the top, right? Like it could be a ball, but only like half of it is like Earth we know, right?
All right, hold on. All right, so there's that side. Let me show you the other side, which would dispute that. Just give me one sec. Add input. NDI desktop capture. Okay, so if we look at this is a live feed from the Himawari 8 satellite that is in...
Right. Now, how can you trust that this is actually what's going on, sir? How do you know that that actually is a live image, sir?
Fight the flat earth, are you there?
Sorry, I disconnected my mic. My bad. Can you hear me?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Right. Yeah, sorry. Right. Okay. The reason we know this is real is because in 2015, around about up here on the China-Mongolia border, there was a wildfire. A really, really bad wildfire. Okay. Now, the only reason we found out that this wildfire was there was because of this satellite and the data that it was giving. And using that data, they managed to spot this wildfire before they would have normally, cleared the villages that it was in the way of, and saved lives. So that data wasn't gathered from anywhere else, and it was evidence that Himawari is what it says it is. Also, there's a channel called Where's Wally, who's in Australia down here, and many times he has taken pictures of the clouds from where he is and compared them with the cloud patterns that are around Australia, and showed that they are accurate real-time data. So this is Himawari 8 takes an image. Correct me if I'm wrong here, team. Isn't it once every 10 minutes?
Yes, once every 10 minutes.
So this is literally a live image right now from space within the last 10 minutes. And the fact that this bit here is in dark shows that it's a sphere, because the rest of the planet is the other side, which was in that other picture I showed you. There. So, there you go. There's two different sides of the planet showing that it's not just a round thing and the rest underneath.
Okay, sir. Do you mind if I bring up Apollo one more time, because it factors into a reason why you would lie about the flat Earth.
Okay.
Okay, so let me ask you, what type of measurements do most scientists use?
That's a very ambiguous question. It depends on what you're measuring.
But in general, but sir, in general, would you use metrics or would you use imperial?
Well, I'm in the UK, so I'm probably different to the rest of the world.
Right. Well, I'm in the US, but I still use, I still prefer metrics because they're more precise. But, but who was the United States trying to, intimidate supposedly with the moon landings?
Well, we know
was it Russia, right?
We know there was a space race between the US and Russia, but before you go any further,
right.
the fact that Russia have released many evidence that the USA actually landed on the moon when they said they were kind of blows out any. Why would Russia back them up and say that they did what they said they did when they would have the chance to call them liars?
Well, don't you think that they could be faking this war, right?
Do you have any evidence that they were? Because I don't think I've ever seen any.
Well, because I think there could be some financial thing about, like I said, there's a helium on the moon, right? And you know that we have a little limited amount of helium here on Earth, right?
Yeah, well, there is a kind of a shortage of helium, yes.
And are you familiar with the Russian submarine, the Kursk, right?
Yeah.
So based on that tragedy...
Hey, man, just out of curiosity, hey, can I stop you for 1 second? Hey, can I stop you for 1 second? Do you need some time to eat? Because we'd prefer not to hear you eat over the stream. I know that it's really getting to me. And people are wondering if you're going to get to a point with all this as well.
Okay, yeah, I'll stop eating for a minute, but my point was that based on the Kursk disaster, I would say that Russia does not really care about its people that much if it means profit for their government. So why not, join the United States if it means getting this, valuable resource? And I think that there still are moon missions going on, right?
Well, 2024, we're going
Don't you think
there.
it's odd?
I mean, Israel...
Yeah, I've heard about that. Right? But I'm wondering if they'll put a rover on Mars, why won't they put one on the moon, right?
There's been loads of rovers on the moon.
Okay, I've not heard about them, but what type of Mars type rovers are currently on the moon right now?
I mean, I'd have to Google different missions on the moon, but suffice to say that there's been plenty of stuff that on the moon. Where are you going with this? Is there any evidence of the flat Earth?
Yeah, it's because if there are these type of Mars type rovers on the moon, why can't I go somewhere on some software and see the rover looking at the Earth?
Because you're not the people that own that rover. I mean, dude, there's so many pictures from space of Earth Just because you don't have one specific picture from one specific rover on the moon that you would want doesn't negate all the other millions of pictures that we have. I mean, I kind of have to say at this point, I don't think you've actually brought any evidence for the flat Earth at all. And I think we should probably give you a chance to kind of give your final argument here before I start reading up super chats and start closing it down, because we've been going for an hour and a half and it is quite late for most people. So
Right.
I'll give you a few minutes now. If you would like to just kind of wrap up any of your arguments and say anything else that you feel like you need to say.
Right. Okay. So in my final argument, I want to say that, yes, everything that, our eyes tell us would tell us that the moon is round. I mean, I believe that when you're born, you're born with this type of intuition that says, yes, you're on a round Earth, just because, the way how a pigeon would fly, or pigeons or any type of bird are born with this instinct to fly south. We're born with instincts that say that we are on a round Earth. And there's evidence to say that people have believed this almost always. They were just, a new movement of the flat earthers, but, our eyes and senses are not always right? Because you could drink a beer, you can take some hallucinated drugs, and then you can basically be in whatever reality you want to be. So, it's not too far-fetched to say that, there could be more advanced people than us. Like, we could still be, in comparison, like the monkeys here, and we have like a universe that's crawling with aliens, and they don't want us to escape our little Earth, because these aliens are more, they're smarter, and they don't want us like behemoths, out there fighting and pillaging and plundering, as in the human nature is, right? And it's in human nature to deny things, right? Because if we never denied anything we thought just by how we saw it, then we basically would not have nearly as much technology as we do today. And that is my final argument. Thank you.
Okay. I guess I'll give my final argument, and that is that we don't know everything about the universe. Who knows what's out there, what science is yet to be discovered. But based on the understandings that we have and the evidence that we can gather now, it's demonstrable that the Earth is exactly this. We've seen it from space, many different people, different agencies. There's so much data that confirms that the Earth is what we say it is. We know it rotates like 15 degrees an hour. We know that it has curve. It's been proven by Jeranism. We understand fusion and fusion byproducts, so we understand all the energy coming from the sun and everything. And there is nothing about our model that has any flaws. No matter how many times flat earthers want to go, oh, well, your model can't explain this and that. They're wrong. You guys don't understand what's being told to you. There is no flaws. The model makes 100% sense. And I have to say that flat earthers need to actually start learning the physics and science behind our model before they are trying to debunk it, because frankly it's embarrassing when you come and try and prove that the Earth isn't round and you don't understand anything about it. So that is my final audience, my final thing to say. Team, have you got anything before I want to read super chats?
Yeah, a couple of things. We have some questions from the audience. I've got 3 questions for you that people would like to know. Well,
Okay.
Two questions so far, and I'm sure one will come in here in a second because I just put it out. You asked FTFE, why do people invent religions? But at the very beginning, you said that you invented your own religion. So would you like to maybe answer your own question?
Oh, okay. So basically, one day I was watching this video with Kit Hovind, and he was bringing up this straw man about, nothing exploded in the beginning. So I thought, well, he's always trying to refer to atheism as some type of religion, which it's not. But if they're gonna, if he's gonna be hard pressed on that, I thought, why shouldn't I invent my own straw man to fight his straw man to say that, well, evolution, all that happened, but there's this tiny bit of Scientology that happens like in the future or whatever, and that's how the universe was created. It was like self-sufficient or something like that. And, it was basically just like a parody type religion to try to fight these, or make fun of these straw mans that Ken Hovind is trying to throw out, right?
Yeah. Okay. Now we have two questions about triangles. One is the Bermuda Triangle. You brought that up. Do you believe that there's something going on in the Bermuda Triangle?
Yes. I don't think there's anything that's like, there's no ghosts, there's absolutely no aliens there, but I think there's some type of wormhole or something that, it's not active like all the time, but sometimes, time space becomes distorted, or it doesn't work the way it normally does. So the ships and these planes are being transported like somewhere like in the middle of the Arctic, and that could be a reason for flat Earth, is because all these ships and planes could just be out there in the middle of the Arctic, and then.
Well, the Arctic is not near the Bermuda Triangle.
No, but I'm saying you're familiar with the concept of wormholes, right? Well, I'm saying that there could be a wormhole.
Theoretically predicted, yeah, but I think we would see the gravitational effects of a wormhole if it manifested itself inside of our atmosphere.
Right, but
what are you familiar with? What do you think the concept of how do you think a wormhole gets created, as per Einstein's general relativity?
Well, basically, what I'm familiar with is that a sun will basically implode on itself to make this super dense, area of time space, which everything, like even light, becomes like sucked in.
We
right?
We can really stop right there. We can really stop right there because you kind of hit on it. The sun would have to do that. The mass of the sun. So something that massive would absolutely have an effect, a direct effect on not just the Earth, but the atmosphere around it. So we know that it's not a wormhole unless there's some other type of wormhole that was created, that can be created, that is not explained by physics. But then again, what you're talking about as far as a wormhole is based on theoretical predictions made by
physics,
general relativity. Yeah. Okay, so and the reason why I asked that question is because we have a user that's in the chat that actually lives on some maps. He would be considered inside of the Bermuda Triangle. He lives out there. He goes out there all the time, and he can tell you there's nothing going wrong. Now, I can't verify that he's not a fucking alien, okay? He's probably just some government alien sent here because he knew we were going to be talking about it. In fact, he's been around for about 6 months, so they probably have some time traveling feature where they know where we're going to be talking about it. So he just inserts himself to make sure that we don't find out the secret. But he is claiming that he lives out there and that there's no woo going on out there. Now, the final question we have two questions to ask you. If given an equilateral triangle of sides 1, 1, and 1, what will the interior angles be?
I have no idea, sir. I'm gonna say it would be exactly 0. Exactly 0.
That's a new answer.
If it's the Bermuda Triangle.
Okay, so if it was 0, it would be a line basically. But okay. We'll go with that. Do you want me to give you the right answer, or do you want to look it up later? I can give it to you.
Please, yes. Yeah, please, sir. Just tell me the answer.
Yeah, 60, 60, and 60. The internal angles of a triangle will always add up to 180 because the sides are all the same length, 1, 1, and 1. Therefore, all the angles are the
Right.
same length. Divide 180 by 3, and there you have 60. And the other one was just a basic math question. Uh, how would you
Right.
convert meters to kilometers?
Well, there are approximately 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer, right? So you would divide the
Exactly.
kilometer by 1,000, right? Like I said, I'm
Okay,
very
well,
fluent in metric.
No. No, 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 no. No, you wouldn't divide the kilometers by 1,000. You would divide the meters by 1,000.
Oh, really?
So if you had 1,000 meters, you would divide it by 1,000 to give you 1 kilometer.
It's a ratio.
Yeah.
So that's the
Oh,
thing.
okay.
I've got one
Okay.
question.
Sorry,
You were right except for you got it backwards. You should be to go the way you were talking about going from kilometers to meters. You would multiply it by 1,000.
Yeah.
So if you had 1 kilometer, you
Right.
would multiply that by 1,000 to give you 1,000 meters.
Okay,
And it's
so-
not approximately; it's exactly
Yeah.
1,000.
So I've got a
meters.
question. Is the following number a positive number or a negative number? 10 to the
Okay.
negative 17.
10 to the negative 17. It would be a negative number, right?
No.
Okay, so
because
no,
positive. Oh, yeah, go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say that's wrong. But I'll tell you, you should really look a lot into quantum mechanics because it's all math.
Yeah.
It's all talking about
Right.
probabilities, and it describes how light interacts with matter. It's a great topic to delve into, but you're also going to need a lot of math. I guess that's probably why the people wanted to know these math questions so much, is to kind of gauge where you were at mathematically before they just started taking some of the quantum effects that you were describing seriously.
Right. So I want to say thank you, though, for having a pleasant conversation. There was no shouting. You stuck to the rules and kind
Right.
of, no over talking, and that was a very different debate than against 33 UC, who is begging me for a third chance, but I'm going to leave that up to the audience. If you guys think that I should give 33 UC a third chance, then put 33 in the chat. Otherwise, put 42. But I'm going to read off the super chats that I had. I actually had a couple yesterday during the premiere of my new video, so I'll read those out first. $5 from Mama Murder 73. OMG, just take my money. Laughy emoji faces. Yeah, I really enjoyed making that video about Nathan Oakley and the Flat Earth model. That was a lot of fun, and I think Planner Walk did amazing in it. $2 Canadian from Frederick Sigard, no message, and 10 Australian dollars from John Rapp. Only 15 minutes in. Here's a drink each, guys. Too funny. Our Kiwi sold it. Sorry, Craig. Loyalty and all. Yeah, Planner Walk was awesome. All right, so on to the super chats for today. $5 from Namaste Latin. I keep the heretics without their heads. Haha, love you, FTFE. Thank you. I love you too. $5.49 from Canada. Nicholas Kincaid. Keep it up. The content is gold. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. $10 from Robert Laguerre. He's in a tent under an expressway, LMAFO. I think he's in his garden because he did go and get a charger. €2 from the Snark. Check out a Marvel Girl. Oh, yes, she did her first premiere earlier and it was really, really good. Please go and check out a Marvel Girl.
Yay!
One US
Sub to a Marvel Girl right now.
Yeah. If any of my mods could please put a Marvel Girl's channel into the chat, that'd be fantastic. Everyone, please go and sub to a Marvel Girl. $1.99 from Johan Roderick. What does he think about vaccines? Do you think the vaccines help people?
Me?
Yeah. Sorry, interrupt your sandwich.
Ghost, yeah.
Ghost, yeah. Do you think that?
No, you're good eating
give me
now.
one second.
That was the discussion part I was talking about. You could just nod your head yes or no. Do you think vaccines are good for people or not?
It depends on the vaccine.
Okay. That's a...
And It depends on the vaccine and who gives the vaccine.
Okay, that's a conversation for another time, definitely. $1.99 from Terry the Terror. He's proved to never smoke and debate. £2.34 from Great Circle. I'm calling the RSPCA. This is simple cruelty. £5 from the Casual Spaceman. Seems a nice guy, but he looks stoned. Has to be. $2 from Cajun Crustacean. Yakety Sax plays in the background. $9.99 from Thomas Miller. This is the equivalent of someone streaking at a ball game. Just put on a show for a few minutes on YouTube. $9.99 from B-Boy J Boogie. I love you, Greg. Also, who the fook is this guy? He is, his name is Ghost, I've forgotten the second word now.
Hey, Ghost
Unix. Yeah,
channel?
that's it. Ghost Unix.
I'll put
yeah.
it. If you will, Ghost Unix. If you have a channel, I'll find it online and post the link to it.
Yeah.
You were one of
it's
the
just
more
Ghost
pleasant
Unix
Flat
stuff.
Earthers to
Yeah.
speak to. So
Yeah, I think if you search Ghost
Ghost
Unix, you
Unix?
get
Okay,
his
I'll find
channel
it.
pretty quickly. Another 99 cents from B-Boy J Boogie, thank you. $1.99 again from B-Boy J Boogie, homeschooled by Uncle Daddy. $1.99 from Uhan Roderick. Earth 2 Batman proves a spear Earth. $5 from Robert Laguerre.
Skeptic.
Yeah.
If you just search my name, it's the channel that has like the picture of like the clouds at night. It's like the
Yeah, I
moon in
found
the
you.
center
I
of the
found
cloud
you.
that looks like the eye of Ra.
Robert Laguerre,
Not
please
a
check
problem.
Discord
I
DMs as
will,
soon
I'm
as you
putting-
sneak a peek, buddy.
it's in the chat for them to find you if they want to find you.
Okay, $5 from Chris Keeling. Click that thumbs up. Yeah, please guys hit the thumbs up button. And a $1 super chat from TC Lucas with no message. Oh, there's a couple more come in. $5 Australian from Dennis Real. Hells nah. No. 33, never again. $1.99 from Uhan Roderick. Can I get a ding, team? There we go. And £2 from Casual Spaceman. Nice guy though. Credit to him. Most definitely. Yeah, sorry, 33. It doesn't look like you're going to get a second chance. The 42s have it. I want to say, yeah, thank you very much, Ghost Unix.
Besides, I watched him, and that
Thank you.
even the 2 times I saw him on your channel was horrible. He had such a poor showing. Come
Yeah.
with some shit, bro. Come with
And
some
learn
shit,
how to have a
33.
conversation,
Then
totally.
we'll talk about yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Ghost.
Sorry, we're
Unix
not
for-
talking about you
You're
here,
welcome.
Ghost.
No. Yeah, Ghost Unix, you're welcome back anytime, because you were actually quite
Right.
pleasant to talk to. I'd like to see you having a debate with Team Skeptic, actually, because that, I think, could be very interesting. Before we go, Team, you got anything
Right,
left to
well-
say?
Well,
Go ahead,
you know
Unix.
what,
Ghost, go ahead.
Yeah, give me like next week, and I'll come back debate either one of you guys with some new evidence. How's about that?
Sounds good. You up for that, Team?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, my personal take. Well, my personal take on the whole thing. I really think. Is this your first debate, Ghost, that you've ever done about
my
this
first.
topic? Okay, I think you'll learn a lot. Go back and listen to this debate, and you'll learn a lot. I would also say go watch a few other debates that have been out there that are real popular. You'll get an idea.
I
of
watch
how
your
to,
channel all the time.
how to be better the next time. Well,
I've been
I
watching your
appreciate
channel
that, man.
for
And
like
I don't want you to think that.
yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm huge fans of both of you, so I thought I should debate you.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
'Cause I got
that's
sick of-
great. Yeah. If you,
I got sick
Go
of all these other people just yelling and just being rude assholes all the time, right?
Yeah.
yeah, we've had that unfortunate pleasure.
Oh. Any other news?
But
from
all
you,
right,
Team?
yeah, that was just my take on it. That was my take on it. I felt like I really did feel like it was probably his first debate, so he could have probably been done better. But you got to learn. You can't learn without doing your first one. I'm sure your second time will be
Right.
better. Your third time will be better, and then you'll become just an average, normal debater in this community like we all are already. Even me myself, I wasn't that great when I first came to the table debating. I wasn't that great either. So I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you being polite
Right.
and having a conversation with us. And I look forward to having you on again in the future. Like I said, maybe next week
Oh,
we'll
yes.
bring you on my channel or something, and we'll talk another
Right.
topic.
As long as, but make sure you keep that ghost thumbnail in the video, because I really like that.
Yeah, cool. No worries. You can thank the Creaky Blinder for the thumbnails. He, yeah,
thank you, Creaky,
massive shout out to Creaky Blinder for all my channel art. You know, the layout, I put it all together in that, but he's the one that just designed it. All my channel art, all my thumbnails and everything. Team does a few of the thumbnails, but lately Creaky has become, you know, he is just so good at them. And massive shout out to Creaky Blinder for all your help with my artwork. My channel wouldn't look half as good as it does without you, so thank you. But yeah, that's been an interest
on me when it comes to artwork.
Yeah, you're good with the clickbait, aren't you, dude?
Right.
That's been an interesting night tonight. Make sure you guys check out Team Skeptic's channel as always, and go and check out Ghost Unix's channel. I'll be back in a few more days with another video, but until then, stupidity is not right. Fight the flat Earth. Fight the flat. 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 Fight the flat.
The crane.
Fight the flat Earth.